Hello, good afternoon, Win. I'm so happy to see you today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. How are you?
Great. It's great to see you again. All right, I'm going to begin with a little introduction. Thank you so much for taking the time to tell us your story. As you know, I'm Heather Bruce Satrom, and I teach an ELAP, English Language for Academic Purposes, at Montgomery College. And this project is called History in the Making, documenting stories of immigrant and refugee students at MC. The goal of this project is to help others better understand the experiences of immigrants and refugees in the United States, particularly in Montgomery County. And telling your story will enable others to better understand the challenges that immigrants and refugees face and better appreciate the resilience and perseverance of people in your community. So I am grateful for your participation. Today is the first interview. Today is Friday, March 24th, 2023. And this interview will be focused on your experiences in your country of origin, which is Vietnam. And then next week, we will talk about your experiences after you move to the United States. So we'll take about an hour today, but we can talk longer if you choose. As a reminder, at any point, if you would like to skip a question, just let me know. That's perfectly fine. Okay, let's begin with the first question. Could you please tell me your full name and spell it, please?
My name is Uyen Nguyen. Uyen, U like university, Y like yes, E like evening, and N like no. My last name is Nguyen, so it's like N like no, G like good, U like university, Y like yes, E like evening, and N like no.
Thank you so much. And do I have permission to record this interview?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. All right, so let's begin by talking about your name. Do people in the United States have trouble pronouncing your name?
Yes, but I think it depends. So, by random people, I think they have trouble so much saying my name. One time I stay in when I take a shower, I laugh out loud because the sound of that person come up to my mind when he tried to pronounce my name, Win Win, but it turned out like Win Win. So it's so weird to me. But when I have more friends in the US, and a question recently, I asked them that, do you guys have trouble saying my name? Because I want to change my name if you guys have trouble. But it turned out that my friend didn't have trouble saying my name and they like my name. Actually, Uyên is a hard word to say even in Vietnamese. Um, some Vietnamese people still have trouble saying my name. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, that's my first name, but my last name is a popular name, and I expect people to say it correctly.
Does your first name have a special meaning?
My last name or my first name?
Your first name?
Yeah, my first name is stand alone. It have no meaning, but it is go with another um like Phương Uyên or Uyên Bác. Uyên Bác mean intelligent. I'm not sure what my parents want me to do, but yeah, to me that is the meaning. Um, Feel like they want when when they give me born.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that story. Um, and where do you live now?
I live in College Park.
Okay. And you're a
Yeah,
student
in a
at
apartment.
the University of Maryland at College Park?
Yeah, it's really near the University of Maryland. It takes around 10 minutes to get there. I
And
usually travel by the UMD shuttle.
can you tell me a little bit about what you're studying at the university?
Yeah, I am a senior who major in computer science at the University of Maryland. I interested in quantum cybersecurity. Also, recently I um, feel engaged more in design and implemented interpreter and compiler for programming language based cybersecurity, based security actually. So
That's
um,
fascinating. Can you tell me a little bit more about your studies and why you chose this major?
when I come to the US, I have a background in food and nutrition, some background in law, but I feel like I can't study anything. But at the time, I don't think that um, I should follow law or something related to English because that seemed that my weakness. So I want something practical to have my life first, and then I come to math and computer science. And actually, after that, I get attracted from um, the major, so much interesting. And I think that with the skill and the knowledge I gained from the university, also MC, gonna help me to find a better job. Also, I can use this to help other people. Um, I believe that public service is very important. So I think I can contribute to public service to tackle some issue, national issue in the future.
And you're also working as a teaching assistant now, is that correct?
Yeah,
You enjoy that work?
yeah, I enjoy that work, seeing people have trouble with that class like me before, and helping them help me earn more knowledge and deep understand in the concept. I also help professor design the same, grading the same, maintain the communication channel with student on Discord. So that's helped me to study more and more.
That's wonderful. And you also mentioned that you work for Vietnamese American Television in Arlington, Virginia. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that work?
When I come to the US, I usually be a writer
Mhm.
for the Vietnamese American Television, and then I get I get the job as a consultant and technical staff. I install the software, maintain the software, help people using the software at the office. I also contribute to human rights topic that's very personal to me. Yeah,
Is Vietnamese American Television aimed at an audience of Vietnamese people living in the United States? Is that right?
yeah, that's correct.
Can
Also, they post some YouTube video so that the Vietnamese who live in Vietnam can upload to that video. We try to speak the truth and bring some international issue to the people in Vietnam so
I know
that they are aware of.
you mentioned that human rights is a topic that's very important to you. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, how that became such an important value to you?
When I was in Vietnam, I was a activist, student activist. In particularly, I um, practiced my freedom of speech to against China arrested in the South China Sea, and because of that, I get arrested by the Vietnamese Communist government. Um, yeah, after release from jail, um, under the pressure of the government, I could not go to any public school. and then I have to study by myself using the online resources. On the other side, I still contribute to human rights practice, some democracy activity, like go to street, speak out the opinion, and express the freedom of speech. Yeah, like helping people to know their basic of human right.
I definitely want to come back to that story because I think it's really important, that part of your life. But let's begin going farther back in time. We'll start at the beginning. Tell me, you were born in a village in Vietnam named Hamtri, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about the village of Hamtri? What is it like? Or what was it like when you were growing up there?
Mm, yeah, of course. Hamtri is a small village of the province Bình Thuận. It's located in southeast of Vietnam, and my province is well known for growing dragon fruit. In the past, like when I was 5, around there, people growing rice, but they switched to growing dragon fruit because it's easier to grow and it's bring profit to people because it's easy to sell for export. So yeah, they were known for dragon fruit.
That's interesting. Um, was your family involved with growing dragon fruit? Is that something that your family has connections to, that local industry?
Yeah, my parents actually farmer for growing dragon fruit. They also growing rice, but it needs more work than growing dragon fruit.
And how many people are live in this village?
I'm not really sure. When I was a kid, not much people, but now people sell. They make the farm to be um, home, so it's a lot of people right now.
And when you were growing up, who was in your family? Can you tell me a little bit about your family members?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I think under 3 years old, my parents and me live with my grandmother, my grandfather, and sister of my mother. But when my mom say enough money, they move out, and my parents build their first house by their hand and the help from their friends. So that's our first house. I have no sibling until 12. Yeah, and that's the only sibling I have.
So you grew up in an extended family with your grandparents, did you say?
Yeah, my grandparent and also my mother, sister,
Your
uh, and brother as well. Yeah, so it's a lot of people.
And can you describe the first house? You said your parents built it by hand?
Yeah, um, that is a small house, and we have only one room to um, one room, one bedroom to sleep together, and we have one living room, one kitchen. So yeah, not much furniture there, just basic furniture like table and chair and other things. Um, I remember when I was around 8 or 10, my mom um affordable for a TV, a black and white TV. And then since the other family didn't have a TV, so it's a lot of kids and their parents gathered to my house at evening to watch TV together. And of course, there's not much entertainment in a TV, but the new, but it's look real when you see the TV. So they still gather in my house in the
How
evening to watch the TV.
how old were you when your parents got the television?
Mm, 8 or 10, I think.
And you remember people gathering at your house to watch shows
Yeah,
together? Did you have any favorite shows that you enjoyed watching?
I wish at the time people there's more cartoon on the TV, but I think not creative because they don't have much cartoon on the TV. So I'm not the person who like to watch TV at the time.
Do you remember any American television shows or American movies? Did you watch any when you were a child?
No, I don't think so.
Um, so did you say you watched cartoons or you wanted to watch cartoons?
Uh, I like people gather to my house, but
Yeah,
I didn't enjoy the TV because the TV just new every day. It's so bored.
it was the
So we
news.
got yeah. So we like I like to talk with other friends, like the neighbor, more
You enjoyed
than
the social aspect more than the television itself.
yeah.
I understand that. Let's see. So tell me a little bit about, can you tell me a little bit more about like your neighborhood, your community, other activities that you did when you were growing up?
When I grow up, me and other kids usually play in the street. So we draw playground on the ground and then collect the stone together and play with it instead of a particular game like kids now do. So because we don't have playground, so we play in the street. At that time, no, not much, actually no car at all. Usually bicycle or motorcycle. So yeah.
Do you have memories of school when you were a child? Can you tell me a little bit about those memories?
Yeah, I remember um, a professor, a teacher actually. I like her a lot because when I come to the first grade, I didn't recognize tests at all. I think I go to school for fun. I'm not sure if I think that. And on the test day, I took the test as an homework assignment, so I didn't do that. Yeah, and I go home without doing that. I think I do something, but not all of the same. So basically, almost failed the exam. So that teacher talked to talked to my parent about that. And then during the first summer, I have to stay in her home to practice more what I lack of in the school. Yeah,
You
that's so
stayed with
funny.
your teacher's home to study?
Yeah, she like to have me at her home so that she can teach me more during the summer.
Oh, that's very
Mm,
kind.
yeah, I
Did
like her. Yeah, I still remember her name. Her name is Hiền. I like her a lot. Yeah, and there's a fun remember when I stay in her home. There's a I I don't know how to say it, but it's she grow um she grow a she grow some plant. That is a real plant, so I think that's the grass, not plant. That's the grass. So I
like the yard or a garden? She grew a garden?
no, that is a weed plant. That's not a garden. But I go there. I think that's the just grass. So I pull it out, and that grass is die. But actually, that's something rises.
So you were pulling it out, but it was,
Yeah, I pull it out.
and what plant was it?
I'm not pretty sure, but it's rises.
So how did she respond to you? Did she tell you don't do that?
She didn't have home at the time. She go to market. So I was a kid. I didn't aware of there's some kind of plant really rises like that. So
Was it a rice?
when
Did you say a rice plant?
no, it's something related to medication.
Interesting. So it's like like herbal medication?
Yeah, maybe something like that.
It sounds like this teacher had a really positive impact on your life, inviting you to stay with her.
Yeah, I
Was that just
know.
one summer, or did you stay for multiple summers with her?
I stay for one summer because that is when I was first grade. So when I moved to second grade, I have another teacher. Yeah. And I still need to stay at my home to watch out for my parents to go to market all the day.
What kind of responsibilities did you have when you were a child? Did you have chores that you needed to do every day?
Yeah, of course. If my mom see the house have dirt, I'm gonna get in jail from her. So yeah, I do that every day. And
What what
also I
what
need
kind of chores
to
did you do?
that's kind of weird. Like I need to clean the stuff in the house and then cross the house by my hand.
You had to clean the house by hand,
Yeah,
and you would
and
get in
wash the
trouble if you
dish.
didn't.
Yeah, my father likes to grow the tree, so I also take care of the tree when he's not home as well.
So, can you talk a little bit more about dragon fruit? You mentioned that that's an important fruit in your village.
Yeah, actually, that's expensive fruit, right? But I don't like to eat that because I did eat that a lot when I stay in Vietnam. So not much fruit to eat, but because my parent friendless, so we have a lot of dragon fruit in my house. So my mother just say, there, you can eat there. Why do we need to buy more fruit? So I eat that a lot. So I want to eat that more when I come to the US. Um, Also, I remember the China and Chinese, a lot of Chinese people come to my village for buying dragon fruit. Um, and a lot of time farmer get trouble because they suppress on the price. So we don't have a good price when the season comes because a lot of dragon fruit need to be sold. So they don't want the farmer have a good price to sell. So really sad on the season when the season comes.
So it affected the cost of the dragon fruit for the
Yeah,
local people.
yeah.
Um,
Sometimes I see a lot of people throw out the dragon fruit on the street, and there's some struck come and dragon fruit compressed. I feel like uh, hurt or something because that's my parent hard working put in there, and then nothing pay off.
so they put I just want to make sure that I understand. They put a lot of work into producing the dragon fruit, and
Yeah,
then
growing dragon fruit, and
and
then because the cost is really low, like they gonna collect the really big dragon fruit and beauty dragon fruit, so the other dragon fruit is not quality. A lot of people let for the big to eat, but it's still a lot of dragon fruit they can't consume, so they threw away.
they threw it away
Yeah,
to affect the prices of the fruit.
yeah.
Is it very hard to grow dragon fruit? What kind of things do you have to do to get a good harvest of dragon fruit?
Uh, I actually see my parents doing that, but they don't want me and my younger brother to do that. They want us to pay attention to school stuff instead. but I see they grow dragon fruit there by they try to make it every season, not a special season. So they light a bowl to make the temperature appropriate for the dragon tree to have flower, and from there they're gonna have fruit later. Yeah, they also need to remove some dragon fruit, because if the tree have too much dragon fruit there, the fruit gonna be small. So they're gonna remove when it's full young. Yeah,
And you
remove
said
some of them.
your parents preferred you to focus on school,
Yeah, I take
education.
care of the house and working on my school stuff instead of go to the farm.
And let's go back a little bit to, I'll return to the topic of education, but first, maybe we could talk a little bit about when you were growing up, um, about holidays. Were there any special holidays that you remember? Any fond memories you have?
Yeah, it's a lot of holiday, but the most I like is New Year, and we have our own New Year's. Uh, the Vietnamese New Year say is Tết, T-E-T, Tết. So during the time, the older person gonna give money to the kids, and kids gonna wish them a happy new year, or using a fancy word to say happy new year to the person. Yeah, the older person. I really like that, because during the time I can get some money and then I give back to my parents. Also, we have no school during the time, so uh, I enjoy it.
Sounds like you have very fond memories of New Year.
Yeah.
Did you wear special clothes at that time? Was there a special color to wear, something like that?
Yeah, people usually wear the light color, like red and yellow. Yeah, red and yellow is the main color during that holiday.
And what kind of foods are important at that holiday?
We have a special name for food, so I don't think we gonna have the correspond word in English to say that. So bánh chưng, yeah, bánh chưng. It's just rice, and in the middle they have meat, also green bean, mung bean.
Mung
Yeah,
bean?
that's it. Yeah, that's the traditional food for Tết.
Um, when you Are there other foods that were important to you that you remember growing up, that maybe foods that you miss not eating here now?
That's the rice. I didn't eat it every day like I did in Vietnam. Yeah, I eat when I was in Vietnam, I eat rice every day. We have 3 meals. So the breakfast, I may skip breakfast. Lunch and dinner, we gonna gather together, cooking and eating, and rice is the main food every meal.
Um, One thing that you mentioned to me in an earlier conversation was about how meditation is very important to you. Could you tell me a little bit about how you learned to meditate, who taught you to meditate, and how that became a valuable practice for you?
Yeah, when I was in Vietnam, like I told you that after arrested and releasing from jail, the government didn't allow me to go to any state university. I was really stressed because I want to have a official education. So uh, I go to temple to pray, and I learn mediation from there,
Meditation.
from from a Buddhist. So I take around 7 days in the temple. We didn't use phone or read newspaper. We just isolate completely from um, electronic devices. We eat one meal. That's it before lunch, before noon. We're gonna eat one meal, and from there we didn't eat anything. We just drink. We practice meditation all day, and each time we do it, we're gonna do 2 hours. Just stay straight your back, and then breathe. Close your eye and focus in the internal and breathe. Follow the breath. And that's helped me a lot when I come to the US as well because I have a pain on my back. So that's like a tool to help me to maintain my health and also help me to focus.
And so you continue meditation practice today to help you with stress?
Yeah, sometimes I don't know. I feel I wanna cry because some stress. I don't know. I don't know, but I wanna cry. Really wanna cry. Uh, I don't know why, but then when I sit down and do meditation, it reply me. And during the meditation, if I feel pain in my mind or feel pain on my body, I can cry. And after that, I feel resilable, like I strong again. Nothing can beat me off. Yeah, I
Can
still
you
practice meditation.
do you practice meditation on your own, or are you part of a meditation community here?
I practice on my own because the meditation from other people, I don't know, maybe they have a group, but for me, that is a religion belief. So uh, in my mind, I think alone is better. It is it good to find a quiet place under the tree to sit down and do that. It's better than gather with other people.
Interesting. So let's go back in time. You mentioned that you went to an elementary school, you had elementary school teachers who helped you. You mentioned that your parents put a focus on education and the importance of education. Did you go to high school in your village, or did you go farther away to go to high school?
There's only a high school near my house, so it take take me 30 minutes with a bike. I Yeah, I drive a bike there. Yeah, it takes around 30 minutes to get there, and it's the only high school I can get to it to study. So yeah, I attend that school.
Is that when you began to have an interest in math and science and computer science?
Actually, no, I don't feel I like any subject in school. I think I can learn anything, but I don't have an particular interest at that time. I skipped math. Yeah, I didn't did well in math subject in high school,
You did
but it
not do
turned out,
well in
yeah,
math,
I didn't.
and now
Yeah,
you do so well.
yeah. I think at high school I think that I good in remember. Like the subject require me to remember, like biology or something, but not math or physics, natural science.
Which subjects did you enjoy the most when you were in high school?
Uh, I like literature. Yeah, and
Did you study
also
Vietnamese literature or
uh,
literature from other countries? Vietnamese.
Vietnamese literature.
When did you first start studying English?
When I was sixth grade.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we never get seriously on studying English because in a small village like that we lack of English teacher. So I remember my mom buy me a dictionary and I didn't know how to use it. Sometimes I want to pronounce something, but because that is the book, this doesn't help me to now, and I don't know how to look at the letter
The
And
phonetic alphabet?
yeah, so
How old were you when she gave you that dictionary?
12.
So that's when you first started studying English.
Yeah.
You had no idea then how important English would become for you in the future?
Yeah, you know what, when I was 12, not 12, but 12th grade,
Mhm.
I just only know how to say hi to foreign people. Like, hi, how are you? How are you doing? Just the basic sentence. I can make a longer sentence.
And
Yeah.
look at you now, explaining complicated things in English. So tell me, you said that you studied nutrition, at first?
Yeah, that's in my first major in um, undergraduate level.
Where did you go to begin your undergraduate studies in Vietnam? Which city did you go to?
Um, that's in Saigon. So after high school, when I 17 years old, I
Mhm.
need to move to the bigger city. So Saigon is the second biggest city in Vietnam, on the south. So I moved there. That's it, the first time I live far away from my parents.
Was that
Yeah,
hard to adapt to life in the city after growing up in a small village?
yeah. I need to find a place to live in, and it's really hard because my parents didn't have enough money to pay for me every month. So I need to find a cheap place. Actually, in a small room, I live with 9 people.
9 people
Yeah, 9 people.
in
But
one room.
we know each other because we all come from the province of Bình Thuận. So we know each other. So yeah, I live with 9 people,
Wow.
boy and girls.
Oh my goodness. That sounds What was that like to live with them all together in this small space? Were there moments that were fun?
Uh, yeah, but sometimes, some people have conflict with each other, so
Yeah.
it's not good. Um, we all activity in that room. We don't have separate kitchen or what. We have only one room and one bed and one bathroom. Yeah, and I find a job. I don't I didn't let my parents know because if they know, they don't want me to do that. They want me to focus on only on the schoolwork. But
So
I
you
know that my parents doesn't have much money to pay for me, so I find a job.
What kind of job did you do?
Uh, that's the being a waitress. Yeah,
And you didn't tell your parents because you didn't want to worry them?
yeah. I didn't want to worry them. I earn um around $5 per a party I work for. Yeah,
That sounds
it's
like
paid. Yeah,
hiring
at
work.
the time, I think that's enough to pay for a week. Like I can eat a week with that's $4.
Wow. And, when you were beginning your studies, did you choose to major in nutrition, or were you told to major in nutrition?
Uh, I I picked the nutrition major because I think I have good memory for uh the subject require remember a lot of things. So I think that is a good choice. But then when I figure out, yeah, I like computer at the time also, but my parents is it wasn't affordable for a laptop to code or doing something related to computer science stuff. So I just picked nutrition, food and nutrition.
Did you have access to computers at the university?
Yeah, but it's super slow. I remember the first presentation I make on a slide. It take me forever. to run, and then I just give up.
You gave up. It was too difficult, too slow.
Yeah, I go to they say internet store. Yeah, where I need to pay for instead of using free in the school.
Oh, like an internet cafe?
Yeah,
Interesting. So, how old were you when you demonstrated? And can you talk a little bit about your reasons for demonstrating?
yeah, I think that's the first time I exposed to human rights activity. So it's a lot of young people go to the street and express the feeling or against the Chinese aggression in the South China Sea, because at the time there's some fishermen get dead on the sea by Chinese. So let's get in touch with our emotion. Well, and you know, it's a lot of students get kicked out from their school because of going to street. I fortunately didn't get catched by the police in that first um demonstration,
How
but
how old were you at that first demonstration?
18.
You were 18. So you this is your first year of university?
That's either second year.
Second
Yeah,
year. Okay.
almost second year. I think
So,
during that time I take the exam, so
so you and other university students went out to demonstrate against the Chinese presence in the South China Seas.
um, not only student, because we get a call from Facebook. So it's a lot of people get in the street and show some slogan. Yeah,
If
that's it, the first one.
For people who will watch this video who don't know much about this topic, could you tell us a little bit about what was happening in the South China Sea and what made you feel so motivated to demonstrate against this? Can you give a little bit of background?
Um, if people care about the area, um, South China Sea area, they gonna see that China have draw a area with a U shape to bound the sea area. They want to get it their own, but the area get conflict or ownership with other country like Vietnam, Philippines, uh, and other country around there. So when fishermen get in the area to get fishing, they very dangerous because Chinese police on the sea can kill them any time. But the Vietnamese government is have no power or speak up to protect their citizens. That's called the anger from our student.
So how many people demonstrated in that first demonstration that you attended approximately? Do you know?
Uh, I don't think I remember because that's the first time I exposed to that as a attender instead of activist, or I think that's more like a supporter than an activist. I truly become an activist after release from jail, but before that I'm like a dissident, political dissident, and supporter for human rights.
So you were not arrested the first time that you went out with these demonstrations,
Yeah,
but later you were arrested.
yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What happened?
Uh, there's a lot of things related to that. Besides the China Sea, um, the South China Sea, and fishermen get killed by the Chinese police on that area. we have a conflict in the history when before 1975 we have an old government and we have a civil war with communist party who come from the north, and they take control of the country from there. So before they come, they take control of the whole country. We have another flag. That's what you can see in Eden Center, Virginia. That's the flag before 1975 stand for Vietnam. So we have a yellow flag with 3 red line. That's the old flag. And the flag right now is a red flag with a yellow star. So I didn't know that happened in the history. They cover something. They try to hidden something from us. So as a young girl who care about the country, so I try to find out why they do that. And 2012, when Facebook get popular in Vietnam and internet is also has its strength, like uh, exposed to everyone. So I get on the internet trying to find some information about that, and I figure out that's our historical flag as well. So I want the other people like me to know about the history, and I not actually hand, but like I show other friends that yeah, that's the flag in history from which year to what year, under which king, like something like that, and they don't allow me to do so as well. So when they arrest me, uh, they use a lot of prison to say that I'm violent the law, but actually I don't feel that's worth to jail me for months or years.
So if I remember correctly from what you've told me before, your arrest had to do with distributing leaflets.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Also about the fly. Me and another friend tying that and print it out, put it in a box, and spread it out for people to. We want people to get attention and know about the truth because they busy with their life every day. They didn't, I don't know, maybe have time, or because that turned be their habit to ignore everything. So we want they pay attention to the issue of the country. Yeah, so we spread out the flyer.
It sounds like your decision to become involved as an activist came from your study of history. Is that correct? That the more that you
Y-
learned about history, the more you felt to get involved?
Yeah, that's correct. My grandparent, on the mother side, he died really soon. But when I was a kid, he usually picked me up from the school and he tell me about his story as well. He was a soldier from the older um, government, which have the yellow with 3 red line flag. Yeah, he get jail as well.
So your grandfather told you stories that made you interested in history as well.
Yeah, once I was a kid, and then like I told you about the history of the flag. When I get older, yeah, I feel like that's also my uh, accountability to let other people like me to know what happened in the history. of the country, because most of people saying that the winner is the one have right to say the truth. That's not true. Truth is truth. Yeah, I feel like they trying to hide a lot of the things.
So how old were you when you were arrested?
I were 20.
Wow.
Yeah, I was arrested in 2012.
Can you talk a
Yeah.
little bit about what happened?
Oh, that's so scary. When I remember, I was crying when I tried the bike in the street because I know that they gonna arrest me.
You
But
knew.
yeah, yeah, I knew, but I couldn't let my parents know because that may hurt them. So I don't, I don't know to do anything. I didn't know to do anything, but I just ride the bike and my mind wandering, thinking a lot. And I think that it is worse. It's worsened. It's gonna take me 1 year, and I still have a chance to get back to the university. So I willing to do that. Just 1 year. Okay. I go home and waiting for them to arrest me. But when they arrest me, they put me they didn't have a announcement to arrest me. They say that they invite me to their office and then they just keep me there forever until they tell me officially. So they don't have announcement until the day they put me in jail officially. And when I was in jail, they do investigation 5 months, 5.5 months before I go to um, the judge. The first judgment, they sent me 6 years for the first time. So I feel fluctuated because that's not what I expect. Yeah, even I do something not wrong, but I think they're gonna jail me for 1 year before, but now they sent me 6 years. I was shocked.
You were sentenced to serve 6 years in prison?
Yeah, 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 for the first sentence. And yeah, and I feel shocked. Like they brutal. I keep waiting, and when the first meet with my parents after 5.5 years, half month, I just my parents encourage me to tell the truth, even that is 6 years. And it turned out second um on the second sentence when I go there, they just release me and with some probation, 52-month probation. Yeah, and I recognize from that time I recognize the international effect. So from there, I go when I get out of jail, I actually um, commit my time for being a supporter for human rights activity, like calling for international attention.
How
Yeah.
much time did you end up serving in prison?
Uh, 10, 10 months.
That must have been a very, very hard time for you.
Yeah. When I did watch some movie related to jail in the US, I thought before going to jail, I think it's gonna be something like that, but actually it's not. It's more terrible. The environment in the jail is really bad, and the food as well. They didn't treat the prisoner as a people, as a human, I believe, because sometimes in the rice there's some insect. When I eat, I I just recognize when it's around here. I I about to do it out, but it's too late. Yeah.
What
Not
did you do to keep your spirits up when you were in prison? How did you get through that time? What helped you?
um at the time I was too young. I have my own belief in Buddhist, but at home we just pray and chant. We didn't practice. I didn't practice meditation at the time, so I so weak. I cry all the day when they put me in jail. I just cry all day, day by day. And you know the feeling when I eat in, I hold a bowl with rice there, and my my cry, my teeth just drop up to the bowl. So even that, there's some prisoner really treat me well. There's really old, but there's like my parents. They just give me some work to realize me. And when I like a dream, but not actually dream because I still awake, but I lie on the ground there. I feel somebody, uh, I call her like mother, but actually I know that's not my mother. Yeah, my mother is named Nhung. I think that's not my mother, but in my mind I call that person is my mother. So in my belief, my religion, that is kind of Buddhist. Yeah, I didn't say any to that person, but I look at her, and when I wake up, I feel stronger.
That's a
Yeah, to
powerful
tackle.
story. So it was
Yeah.
the kindness of other prisoners that helped you?
Not actually. That's it. The first time when they put me in jail, and I meet that two person, and then they moved that two person in another jail. Then they put me with other prisoner, but the prisoner is just like police investigator. They set all of them to live with me. So they asked me a lot of questions related to my case. Yeah, and I when uh, when I was at that age, I'm so green and young, so I trust people. So when I get released from the jail, my mom and other activists told me that that's not a good person, and they explained to me. Then I know, but when I was in the jail at that time, I didn't know.
No, of course not. How could you have known? So you were tricked basically.
Yeah,
Um, so you got out after 10 months, and then is
yeah,
that when you found out that you could not continue your studies in Vietnam?
yeah. I tried to go to the university. I major in food and nutrition. I hope I can back to study, but they just find any excuse to refuse me. And then finally I go to the village, not stay in Saigon anymore, but go to the village and try to study by my own, buying some book, reading. And I find Coursera, that's an online website teaching several courses. Even though my home didn't have internet, I use phone to buy a SIM card and use hotspot to connect it from the laptop to that phone and use internet like that to study some code from Coursera. The first code I study is still nutrition, food and nutrition, and then I find more interesting course like politics 101 and yeah, other course. Also, when I have internet connection, I can find more and more class, and I figure out that in Houston there's a couple of teacher teaching civil war and human rights activity. I still keep connect to them, and I learned some course they design and teaching online.
So which websites were you using to try to self-educate? Where did you find lectures or information?
Coursera, Coursera.
How do you spell that?
Um, let me
Put it in the
let
chat.
me yeah, let me type it out to so make sure you have it correctly. Coursera.org.
I'm going
I
to the
just
chat.
I just send
Coursera.
you.
Oh, interesting. So
Yeah,
these free courses that you could take? Coursera?
yeah.
And so and this is this when you started thinking about changing directions and trying to study computer science? Were you beginning to understand like the power of computer science for educating people?
Oh, I didn't recognize that, but like I say, when I thinking about computer science, I already overcome my fear of math, of doing math. Yeah, thanks to a professor in MC. Her name is Peter Monet. I take the course in Rockville, and I always get over 100% on the same and assignment. So I no longer fear of doing math. But
Yeah.
before that, I take math acute later. That helped me gain confidence as well because I get a good grade on the placement test as well. But actually, Professor Monique Peter is a good one to help me overcome the
Which
fear.
professor was that? Can you type her name in the chat or his name in the chat?
Uh, yeah,
Monique Peters in Rockville.
yeah,
Professors always feel so great when they hear stories like this about how someone can influence a student to overcome a fear of math or something else, and to see you grow like this. I think it'll be wonderful when she hears this story as well.
yeah,
So you mentioned, and we only have a few more minutes, and our next interview will continue the conversation. But when you got out of prison and you left Saigon, you went back to your village, you decided to find a way to continue your education on your own. Was it this point in your life where you started doing regular meditation practice to help you with dealing with your emotions resulting from the prison experience?
yeah. I do, but not that time. After going to the village, and I applied for MC at that time, 2015.
Okay.
So the school sent back to me document for apply visa, but Vietnamese government didn't let me go as an international student. So I applied. I did not apply for refugee at the time because I scared that I'm gonna leave my parents alone in Vietnam. So I go back to Saigon again. But this time I applied for an international university. It had headquarters in Melbourne, Australia. Yeah, they accept me, but the tuition is really, really high. So I have a sponsor for me to study there, but just English. Yeah, I study one semester about English in that school,
In
and
Australia?
not in Australia, but they have a branch in Vietnam, in Saigon.
So where did
Yeah,
you study English?
yeah. I in that school, international school.
In an
Its
international
name
school,
is
second.
yeah. Its name is RMIT. That means RMIT.
So you studied English there, and then
Yeah.
how did you end up coming to Montgomery College?
Continue the stories that I get arrested the second time.
Oh no. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because I waste of my accountability for letting people know about their right, human right, and practice their freedom of speech. So I was the person who write the introduction for a book. Not actually a book, it's like a long article for a person, a Vietnamese person who lives in Na Uy, write that. And I write an introduction for that book. It's like book, but actually it's a long article. And they arrest me
Oh my goodness.
because of that. But fortunately, this one, they don't have enough reason to put me in jail, so they release me. But they keep my laptop and
Oh,
everything, the Kindle also. Until the day I left Saigon I left Vietnam for US, they just returned that back to me. So, all of the two, they took it off. My parent is not rich. So how can I continue to my education? Yeah, so a lot of pressure, even on finance or everything. I just feel my future is dark.
I
Yeah.
can
So
imagine.
at that time, I go to the temple.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience at the temple?
Yeah. The temple helped me lose like six kilogram, like 12 pounds, I think. But I feel even my body about physical health and mental health gain stronger after that training. Yeah.
And
Um.
how long was the training?
7 days.
And so you felt at the end of 7 days of eating very little food, meditating a lot, you felt stronger after that?
Yeah. Eating is not much food because we don't have much more energy before sleeping. Also, that we don't we practice something like we don't try to enjoy the food, but we try to use the food to maintain the body instead of enjoy the food, because we don't want food control our mind. Yeah, the belief behind the screen is that um, we also care about internal looking the inside of us instead of looking the outside. So when other people do something wrong with you, we can easily to forgive them. Yeah, because we know human always make mistake because some reason. And we also care about, like, when we walk really slowly to
And
avoid making mistake. Like you can step on an insect and make it die if you walking really fast. So we practice small things each day. Not meditation in Buddhist at that temple is not just sitting and reading, but also walking and reading.
walking meditation as well and reading meditation.
Yeah,
And
but
it
I
sounds like
feel
that.
that
Go
uh,
ahead.
sit, sitting and reading is easier for beginner, but walking and reading is harder.
Walking and reading.
Reading, like reading.
Which word are you using? I'm sorry.
Breathing, like you take a deep breath
Oh, breathing meditation. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
It sounds like this had a very big impact on the rest of your life because then you started a regular meditation practice to help you.
yeah.
So, what year did you end up coming to the United States then?
I left Vietnam for the US around 2017 on
Okay.
December. Yeah, the first day of December, I arrived in Los Angeles. The feeling is really weird because on the other hand, I want to stay, and on the other hand, I want to live. I want to stay because my mother didn't want to come to the US with me because she think that on the application, if I put all of the name of family member there, it may take time. And also she want to stay there to take care of her mother. So she stay there. So I want to, on the other hand, I want to stay there. And also, if I go to the US, how can I support for the human right in Vietnam? Yeah, I don't have a plan to do that. But on the other hand, if I stay there for several years, like 10 years, and the human rights in Vietnam didn't improve much, what's my future? I use I may be useless at the time, right? Because no education, no degree. So I want to leave Vietnam for the US to get a official education.
I want to pause right here at this part in your story and pick it up again in our next interview because I think this is like a good moment to stop this part of the interview. Um, but before I do that, one last question for you. How do you feel now about sharing your story this way? What emotions are you experiencing right now?
Yeah, some how can I say that? It's weird. It's not the whole emotional exactly the same at the time I do that or I experience that, but somehow when I remember that, it still touch my emotion. Like it can make me cry or something. Yeah, feeling the hard time. But now I still feel I'm happy and lucky to be in the land of the dream, like the US, the land of freedom. Yeah, I think people live in US should aware that they are lucky to be here.
Well, I feel very lucky to have you share your story with us. So thank you so much. I'm going to stop recording now and then I'll talk to you a bit more. Let me pause right
Yeah.
now.